Welcome to this month's Beachside Chat. I'm your host, John W. Coffey. Thank you for watching last month and all the feedback. We have a very special guest this month, Jordin Chandler of Waste Management. Jordin, briefly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hey, thank you so much, John. And first and foremost, always appreciate the opportunity to speak to residents, more especially about the services that we offer. As John stated, I'm Jordin Chandler. I am the Government Affairs Manager for WM. We did a little bit of rebranding, formerly known as Waste Management. I have actually been in this role now for exactly a year, but actually prior to that, did some consulting work for WM for about 5.5 years. I am a native Brevardian, born and raised here, even went to college here, went to Florida Institute of Technology, where I received a full ride scholarship from President Anthony J. Catanese at that particular point in time. Graduated in 2019 and then went to work in the private sector, ultimately consulting for a number of different corporations and businesses, which ultimately led me to where I am today. So once again, John, definitely appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you for joining us. One of the things most folks know, WM provides our services through a franchise agreement. Jordin, please describe some of our new residents who may be watching. What are some of the services you provide here in Indian Harbor Beach?
Yeah, absolutely. Standard service, of course, is weekly garbage service. We also provide weekly recycling service. We also provide, this is an addition that was actually added just, last year, I believe, where the city had the foresight to ask for routed clam yard waste. So now that is a weekly service. So before it was an on-call service. So if your pile exceeded 4 cubic yards, which we typically say is about the size of a picnic table, you were able to leave that curbside and a claw truck would come, pick it up, and ultimately dispose of it at a landfill here in Brevard County. So that is one of the new added services that the city has actually taken up. I think it has worked here pretty effectively, I would say, in the city of Indian Harbor Beach. You also have carted yard waste, so that is another addition. So if the pile is smaller than 4 cubic yards, the goal is obviously to containerize that, and then a automatic side load truck will come through and pick that up on a weekly route. So another service that we actually have, but it's an on-call service, is bulk furniture. So if you have a couch, if you have refrigerator, anything like that, you could also put that curbside, but you would actually have to call WM. You can even call the city, and they would call myself or call one of our operations managers, and we will route that within 3 to 5 business days and come and pick up that material that's curbside.
I appreciate that explanation, Jordin. I know you deal with the same expectations I deal with city services. Is folks expect us to be perfect.
Yeah.
And when we are not perfect, sometimes we lose that trust from specific residents. And I know WM is like city staff. We work hard to earn that trust back. Expand on the yard waste a little bit more, because not everyone may understand that process.
Yeah. So great question, John. Yard waste is a beast in itself, I will say. Back in January, February, something unprecedented happened. That was a joke. But we had a cold freeze here in Brevard County, all throughout Florida. And what ultimately came thereafter, none of us could have really determined, or none of us could have projected within our industry. It's not an issue that's germane just to WM. I would say definitely it is industry-wide. But back in January, February, when the cold freezes happened, one of the things that we ultimately discovered was that there was a significant tonnage increase in yard waste piles, or yard waste generation from each residential address throughout Brevard County. And so I can say to you, John, we're still working today, even from January, February, to get caught up on just the amount of volume that is currently curbside or just out throughout Brevard County at this particular point in time.
And, this is the moment I'd like to just give the city council credit for having the foresight to amend the franchise agreement last year for that automatic clam pickup, because I know folks throughout the county where they live, they don't have the automated weekly routed, and some of them are being told 2+ weeks for the pickup of their yard waste. So another item that is near and dear to a lot of our residents is recycling. Talk about what WM does once they pick up the recycling from their edge of their yard.
So first and foremost, I will say that WM is definitely a leader in North America when it comes to sustainability as a whole, not only just from our trucks, right, moving from diesel ultimately to CNG, compressed natural gas, renewable energy, but here in Brevard, we have a Brevard recycling facility, which is WM owned. It's been operational now for many years, but just back in 2024, we actually invested an additional $18 million in that facility to enhance it quite a bit. I will say to you that just last year in 2025, we did about 100,000 tons in recyclable materials. And unfortunately, 20% of that was contaminated. And when I say contaminated, it was either commingled with things that are not acceptable, or there was liquid or whatever that ultimately damaged the material that was in your recycling cart. And so we're obviously trying to do more community outreach, more resident education as it relates to what is recyclable material, what is not recyclable material, and also some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to how you are disposing of certain things. And as I'm there also talking about recyclable materials, last week, I want to say to you that batteries are not recyclable. Just last week at our Brevard recycling facility, we had 3 fires because batteries were disposed of. Obviously, that puts our assembly line workers in jeopardy. That puts everybody who works inside the facility in jeopardy, but it also shuts down operations, which ultimately has operational impacts, which can ultimately slow down efficiency when it comes to completing routes, because now that facility has to take a halt, take a break, and address the root cause of ultimately what caused those issues within the facility. So there are some places where you can take batteries, Home Depot, Lowe's, and also Batteries Plus. So I just caution you, please be mindful of what you're putting in your recycling cart because of the residual effects that it can ultimately have.
And that's something most fire departments share concerns. Lithium-ion battery, rechargeable batteries are a blessing to have, but they have a certain hazard level. They can, if they're overcharged, they can catch fire. During extreme flooding, EVs can catch fire, and once an ion battery is on fire, it's real hard to put out. So hopefully folks get the message not to throw their lithium-ion batteries away.
For sure.
Jordin, one thing you touched on, but elaborate. I know here in Indian Harbor Beach, on infrequent basis, I'll get an email from you around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night saying that this street wasn't picked up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's traffic related or vehicle impact. Yeah. Explain to us how traffic can impact collections of waste and recycling.
Yeah, absolutely. Another phenomenal question, John. Thank you. Traffic does definitely play a significant part in routing efficiency. Street closures also play a big role in routing efficiency, but the city, I want to say, does a phenomenal job in communicating with us when there are closures so that we can ultimately work with our operations team to be able to find alternative methods to be able to service those residents on a particular street. And so I will say just last week, 2 weeks ago, giving you a real-time example, there was a unfortunate deadly crash on 95. The crash happened at 6 a.m. And 95 wasn't open. Northbound wasn't open until about 12 o'clock that afternoon. And so more especially when we have trucks that are traveling along 95, either servicing here, going to 95 to go to the Cocoa landfill or also Sarno landfill, but also our Brevard recycling facility is in Cocoa. And so a lot of times our trucks are accessing 95 to get to either a landfill or a recycling facility. And so traffic does play a significant impact in routing delays. But I would always tell you, one of the benefits that we have, thank you to our municipal partners, and I just want to educate residents, please don't get afraid. Please don't get discouraged if your trash or if your recyclable materials aren't picked up on their regularly scheduled day. Obviously, that's our aim. That's our goal to make that come to fruition. But as John hinted or talked about it earlier, this is, I would say, a perfect institution, but it is a company that is inhabited by sometimes imperfect equipment and also imperfect people. And so back to your original point, John, traffic does play a significant part in it. But once again, don't fret if we're not there on your regularly scheduled day. I guarantee you we'll be back there the next morning before the afternoon to pick it up and to service it. And so we thank you all just for the patience and just in allowing our drivers to service this community. And we always look at customer service, number one, as our obviously top priority. I don't look at you as a customer. I look at you as a resident of this municipality. And I do look at you as family. You're all a part of our WM family. We thank you for allowing us to serve you.
And I can attest to that. That day of that traffic accident, when I got home, I told my wife, I says, I'll be getting an email from Jordin tonight. And she says, what do you mean? I explained to her who you were, and I said about the delay on I-95, and I says, I will be shocked if they were able to get their route completed. And so I got an email with a handful of streets, and the next morning before 9 o'clock, I got another email from Jordin saying that all the previous day collections had been picked up and they were back on schedule. So I appreciate what you do for us and your effort to continue to provide good services. And when you, like us at the city, don't meet expectations, you double down and try to improve and do better. So thank you for joining us. Before I sign off, I'd just like to acknowledge Memorial Day is coming up. And I know most folks view Memorial Day as the start of the summer holiday. I hope you take time to remember the true meaning of Memorial Day is to honor those who died in service to our country. I had the honor to serve in the State Department with our military in Iraq and Afghanistan. And each Memorial Day, I will always remember Army Specialist Brittany Gordon. She was killed on October 13th, 2012 in Kandahar, Afghanistan. She was 24 years old, an intelligence specialist. I would see her in the chow hall. I would hear her every night on the intel briefings. And I knew before she was killed, she was the only child of then Assistant Police Chief of St. Petersburg. And she had told her mom and dad when she enlisted that she was going to be safe because she was in intelligence and wasn't going to be in the infantry. Well, she was on a mission to deliver some supplies to an outpost, and as she got off the helicopter, an insurgent who had been Afghan police officer detonated a suicide vest next to her, killing her instantly. So this Memorial Day, remember our Gold Star families that they view Memorial Day differently, and while we're spending time with family and friends, there's folks who it is a somber day. So with that, I thank you for watching, and next month we have a very special surprise guest that I'm sure y'all will enjoy. He will be here to explain some of the uniqueness of local government financing and budgeting. So thank you for watching. Together, IHB cannot fail.